Back in October of 2015, the Douglas County Commission passed a resolution to join the national movement to reduce the number of people with mental illness in our jails. The Stepping Up Initiative. For us, this is a formalized 2 decades to working with Burton Ash Community Mental Health Center and the University of Kansas. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Professor Margaret Severson, who's in the back. Margaret has supported us, pushed us through this effort, and have been with us all this time. Margaret, thank you for all your efforts, and I understand that Margaret is retiring this year. So Margaret, now that you have a lot of time, we expect to see you out there more often. Years of collaboration has prepared our community and the leadership that committed to this challenge. It has prepared us to explore opportunities, make demonstration and initiatives. The commissioners, thank you for your willingness to support these grants and efforts, fund pilot projects, commit resources to these efforts. Your support has led us to succeed. We celebrate today and will lead us to continue to improve outcomes for those underprivileged population. And now I'd like to introduce to you the national partners with Stepping Up initiatives. Megan Quattlebaum, the Director of the Council of State Criminal Justice.
Good morning. I'm Megan Quattlebaum. I'm the Director of the Council of State Government's Justice Center. We, as you may know, are a membership organization. All 50 states, all branches of government are our members, and our Justice Center works with our members on issues related to criminal justice policy and practice. And I'm so grateful to be here on this gorgeous, gorgeous day in Douglas County. Thank you for having me. And I'm so thrilled to be here for the celebration of Douglas County's amazing accomplishments as part of our National Stepping Up initiative, but through years and years of long and hard work, looking to reduce the number of people with mental illnesses in the criminal justice system here in Douglas. As you in this audience well know, people with mental illnesses are disproportionately represented in our criminal justice system, and they do not have particularly good outcomes once they get there. They tend to have longer lengths of stay in jails once they are booked in, and they tend not to get the connections to care that they really need. The Council of State Government's Justice Center, along with our partners at the National Association of Counties and the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, launched, as the sheriff mentioned, the Stepping Up initiative in 2015 to try to spur counties to take action to reduce the number of people with mental illnesses in their criminal justice system. And over the past 4 years, Douglas has joined with nearly 500 other counties, a number we're really excited about, to become part of this national initiative to do just that. Those counties are from 43 states and represent about 46% of the national population. So we're not all the way there yet, but we're making real progress and we're excited about it. And I want to recognize, even before joining the Stepping Up initiative, Douglas County had made great strides laying the groundwork for all these changes that we're here to celebrate today, establishing the research partnership that the sheriff mentioned, and hiring the University of Kansas to get a baseline count of the number of people with mental illnesses in their jails. Since joining Stepping Up, they've taken the effort even further, taking a number of really critical and important steps to move the ball further down the field. They established a criminal justice coordinating council, hired new staff to build capacity, integrated a mental health screening tool into the jail system, established a diversion program to promote the use of early interventions for people with mental health needs, dedicated funding to a behavioral health court to connect people with serious mental illnesses to community-based support services, and started a pretrial release program that uses validated screening results and other data to help guide judges in their release decisions. I think part of what this suggests is the amount of long and hard work that it takes, step by step, to move this ball down the field, but Douglas has done just a tremendous job. And as a result of all you've accomplished, Douglas was selected as one of 11 national Stepping Up Innovator Counties in May 2018 for using the Stepping Up approach to collect and analyze timely data on the prevalence of mental illness in jail. Shortly after being named a Stepping Up Innovator County, the Douglas County launched with the CSG Justice Center a year-long intensive data-driven project to help identify additional opportunities to improve the effectiveness of its policies and programs and to improve outcomes for people in jail who have mental illnesses. We are so thrilled today. Risa, my colleague from the Justice Center, will be talking a lot more about the details of the report that we will soon be releasing and the deep data dive we've done here. But in advance of that release, we're really, really thrilled to celebrate the successes you've had thus far, your status as an Innovator County. Douglas is positioned as one of these 11 to be an inspiration to others in the country who are at a very different place than you are, seeing the scope of the problem, wondering how to get started. Douglas and our other Innovator Counties are a guide for them, an inspiration, a source of encouragement, and we are so, so grateful for all that you've done to get there. On a personal note, I just have to say that it has been a wonderful 30-ish hours in Kansas thus far. It's just such a pleasure to be around people in public service who are so incredibly committed, so thoughtful, so desirous of getting every single detail right, of profiting from the lessons they see all across the country, implementing evidence-based practices to get the best possible outcome for a population of people that often feels forgotten and unseen by folks inside government. You have been incredibly inspiring to be around. I will take your energy back with me and hopefully back out into other communities with which I get to interact. But thank you really for giving me the honor of being here with you today, and I look forward to celebrating many more successes to come.
Our next guest, who could not make it, has sent a clip that he'd like to play. Dr. Dan Gilson from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, but he has completed a video and we'll play it at this time.
Hello, it's really good to be with you all on today by way of technology. And with that said, I really wish I was there with you in person. I want to start off by saying in 2015, when the Stepping Up Initiative was launched, we knew that this was important work, but we're still amazed at the response from the field in supporting individuals with a serious mental illness. These individuals oftentimes are looking for support and are most often met with handcuffs instead. But thanks to counties like Douglas, we are shifting that approach to connect individuals to care and not confinement. Douglas County has continued to be an innovator, and I want to hit on their ability to make connections and improve collaboration between behavioral health and the criminal justice system. They have worked to make sure not only that the right people are at the table, but that everyone is afforded a voice at that table. We want to congratulate Douglas County on your continued efforts on reducing the number of individuals with a serious mental illness within their jail population, with the data to prove that this hard work is not only worth the effort, but the impact it can have on our community if you step up as well. Thank you to the Council of State Government Justice Center and the National Association of Counties for being great partners in this national initiative. We wish you a great meeting.
We have from the National Association of Counties, please welcome the Associate Program Director for Justice, Kathy Rowings.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Rowings. I'm the Associate Program Director for Justice at the National Association of Counties, or NACO, and it's great to be here in Douglas County to both celebrate all of your accomplishments and really look towards your future as well. So in my role at NACO, I have the opportunity to oversee all of NACO's justice programming, including the National Stepping Up Initiative that you're hearing a lot about today. And so I first want to thank our Stepping Up partners at the Council of State Governments Justice Center and the American Psychiatric Association Foundation for their wonderful collaboration on this initiative. And then I, of course, want to thank Douglas County, the Douglas County Board, and other community leaders for being a part of the National Stepping Up Initiative and for inviting NACO to take part in today's events. I come from the National Association of Counties, so just want to really flag that counties are in a unique position to have an impact on this important issue. Counties run 91% of local jails, where nearly 11 million people are booked in every year, many of whom have a mental illness or substance use disorder. And counties also invest about $70 billion every year in community health systems like behavioral health services. But despite these investments, many counties struggle to provide adequate mental health and substance use treatment services to their residents, and jails and emergency departments have too often become the first response when someone is experiencing a mental health crisis. The high number of people cycling in and out of county jails and emergency departments not only comes at great monetary cost to the county government, but also at a huge personal and societal cost to communities, to families, and to those individuals with mental illnesses. And we're here today because Douglas County is choosing a different path for its residents. Douglas County has taken a holistic approach to trying to solve this crisis and has already seen significant outcomes, which you'll be hearing a lot more about in a minute. From training law enforcement to recognize the signs and symptoms of an individual in mental health crisis, to partnering with the local behavioral health provider to embed mental health staff and case managers in the jail, to supporting people in behavioral health courts, and addressing crises in the community before a person is even arrested. Douglas County has shown that having this sort of really massive impact takes more than one program or one path, but that it can be done and it is achievable. These changes haven't happened overnight, but leadership in Douglas County and the partnerships that have been developed across traditionally siloed systems have made the county not only a model for other counties in Kansas, but really for counties across the country. We also know that Douglas County isn't done innovating or working to continue to meet the needs of some of its most vulnerable residents. So NACO, again, is excited to be here to celebrate these accomplishments, to continue to partner with leaders here in Douglas County and in counties across the country on this important issue, and really look forward to seeing all the great work that is still to come. So thank you again, and keep up the good work.
For the past year, we've received technical assistance from the CSG Justice Center to improve the analyzed data. To share some of that data findings, welcome Risa Hanneberg, Deputy Director of the Behavioral Health.
Good morning, I'm Risa Hanneberg, and I'm really thrilled to be here today, not only to share the results and the work we've been doing here in Douglas County, but because I'm a native Kansan and a KU alum. So rock chalk, everyone. Trying to get Megan to understand all of this. You'll have to still... Anyway, so I'm going to just go maybe a little deeper for a few minutes as far as the work that the Justice Center has been doing here in Douglas County for almost the past year. It was last June that Douglas County launched this intensive study looking into the data that analyzes the flow of individuals through their criminal justice system, particularly through the jail, and their efforts that they've been working at for so long to screen and identify individuals with a serious mental illness, and then to follow what we call the 4 key measures or metrics of addressing the initiative's goal of reducing the number of people with serious mental illness in jails. So first of all, you want to be able to identify and know how many people do you have with a serious mental illness in your jail. And you may all be going, doesn't sound like a lot of work, but it is. As we work with jurisdictions across the county or across the country, this is still a first step for them to establish good screening using validated tools and getting to this number. When we came to Douglas County, you had this number, and that was why it was so exciting to come here to work with a county that had been at this for such a long time, had already been introducing numerous evidence-based practices, and were already demonstrating that they were moving the needle on this important work. The second metric then is for those who do come into the jail. As was said earlier, we see in the data across the country that a person with a serious mental illness tends to stay twice as long as an individual who does not have a mental illness. So that is the next metric that you want to look at and want to be able to address, is how to reduce that amount of time, that average length of stay, or ALOS, in your jail. And then thirdly, when they are finally discharged, released, to make sure that there's thoughtful planning for the individual to be immediately connected to those care, support, and supervision as needed in your community, because that fourth metric that we want to work on and reduce is that recidivism, or that returned booking into your jail. So today, I think it is with great excitement that, because Douglas County has been at this work for a while, worked with KU, had established that baseline number, I believe in 2014, and it matched actually the national averages. Around 17% of jail population across the country is projected to have a serious mental illness. And after doing this work now for since 2014 to the present, and the time that they established the baseline, so excited to announce today that after looking at 2018 data, which we just looked at literally a few weeks ago, we got this work accomplished, that number is at 8%. So, that is a significant reduction. And as you look at the general population across our country, it would be normally a number of around 4% of our population would have a serious mental illness. And to reduce that, from the 16 down to 8, and that you're almost reflective of what the general population is truly significant, and certainly is, worth your credit. So hats off to, all your work in Douglas County. So as we've been talking about in the Justice Center, and my colleague Katie is here, we've been here, we've conducted numerous telephone conferences, several site visits. Coincidentally, my site visits timed with a KU football game that we won, and y'all know which one that was, and then a KU basketball game and the Big 12 tournament. So I was truly thrilled, and no problem to be assigned to this work. But we've been working hard looking at data. Again, hats off to Douglas County for the amount of infrastructure and investment that you have placed here in Douglas County, as far as great IT capacity, your hirings of a criminal justice coordinator, your criminal justice advisory council that has guided our work. You have a data analyst that has been absolutely amazing for us to work with. And I will just share with you, the first time we came here, we had sent ahead a listing of all the data points that we would like to achieve and be able to receive for our analysis. And when we left here, we had all but 4 of those. And that is just amazing. So, it was really exciting to come to a county knowing that we have worked in other counties and really come in and just work to achieve those things. But when we came to this county, we were starting from a different, starting point. And so it has been a challenge for us as we've worked here with the advisory council, with the key stakeholders, to really have some deep analysis of your data, what it is still telling us, and what those next steps might be. So we have a few slides. I think Mike is going to help me move the slides. Yeah, so just to kind of go through again some of these key data points, and where, when we come back in September, some final analysis and recommendations where we might be heading. But just to let you know, as we talk about this screening and assessment process that you have placed in the Douglas County Jail, your number of bookings around a little over 5,000. As you do your screening, you have a couple different alerts. One is that there is the screen for the possibility of a mental illness, and then a more, detailed look at the results and so forth, that in fact might be a serious mental illness. So that number was around, as where we got to, is this 8% mark. What's important to note is when you're ever looking at data and so forth, is that, to realize that 27% of individuals booked into the jail bond out or released within just a few hours. So you right off the top, we're missing 27%, but not to say that this isn't a good number to work from. Mike, next slide. So if you start to look, again, I've already referred to average length of stay, or your ALS. We tend to see this across the country. We also see it here in Douglas County as with the 2018 data, is that those who have a flag or have screened a positive as possibly having a serious mental illness, that is your, a population there that is much higher, the 27 number, as compared compared to the population there of 10 that have absolutely no flag for a mental illness. So you tend to see then that, that the length of stay is 27 days versus 10 days. So again, a differential. I will tell you, we see much higher in other jails, but it is still a factor that we want to work on and address. And then one of the other data points that we will be discussing further with your advisory council and the staff here is the fact that more than half of the people who have a serious mental illness return to the Douglas County Correctional Facility within 6 months of release. So as you're looking at this data point, I hope that you're saying, to yourself, 6 months isn't very long. What happened, and what can we do to work on that particular factor. And so understanding how important it is to have that immediate connection to care, some call it a warm handoff, and working with your community supervision, probation, court services, community corrections, your providers such as DECA and Burt Nash, to really make sure that that warm handoff occurs, that it's properly tracked electronically, and that it's not just, handing someone a card and saying, hey, you should call these people. It's really making sure that that appointment is made and followed through with, and that the person is engaged in services. So that's where that kind of data point will inform next steps. The other factor, the other data point is really around the fact that in Douglas County, as well as most jurisdictions across the country, a risk assessment tool is also being used along with screening for mental illness and substance use. And this is a way of predicting, if you will, the likelihood that a person will reoffend, come back to the jail because of a criminal contact with police activity, etc. So this risk analysis process separates those between their levels of risk. So we have low risk, low moderate, moderate, and moderate high. And certainly when you are looking at focusing your services and your attention, you want to be focusing on the individuals that are coming into your jail with this moderate to moderate high potential risk to reoffend, along with the fact that they have been screened and assessed as seriously mentally ill. And also in addition to that, we know that approximately 70% of that population screening for mental illness will also have a co-occurring substance use disorder. So it tells you right off who needs attention. What you have in your jail right now that would, I think be something that we would want to address and move forward with alternatives is this number over here of those who are assessing as a serious mental illness, but they're in that low risk category. They probably most likely are not going to come back to the attention, or they have the least likelihood of coming back to the attention of the criminal justice system. Not saying that they don't need care and connection in the community, but just saying that those of you are here from the justice side of the planning team table to understand that that's where your priority is. And that I think that we feel confident that when we come back in September, we are going to really work with you and be able to pinpoint exactly the numbers there, who those individuals are, and what would be the appropriate level of services to really work with them and try our best to make sure that they don't recidivate and come back through your criminal justice system. I think that's it. Yeah, so that is kind of it today as far as the sneak preview on the data and our next steps and where our recommendations might lead us. I just really want to close again with commending Douglas County and thanking them for how welcoming they have been to our staff with the Justice Center. Countless phone calls, countless, can you send us one more round of data? They've always been very gracious and very accommodating, and it's just really been a pleasure to work here. So thank you.
Our next speaker has been a great partner to law enforcement and the criminal justice system. Chief Executive Officer Burt Nash, Patrick Schmitz.
I'm honored to be here today. I'm probably in this room, I'm probably the least qualified to actually be up here speaking, because there are many of you who have been doing this work a lot longer than I have. When I came here 2 years ago, to begin evaluating whether I wanted to move to Lawrence and be part of the Burt Nash community, I was really impressed with the care and the commitment that this community had for behavioral health, including the government officials and the justice system and the law enforcement system. It impressed me. It was really part of why I really wanted to fight hard to come here to Douglas County, because I had for many years been looking at a lot of the initiatives that you had actually already implemented and really were working towards. So it was very excited when I had that opportunity to actually come here. You know, being part of this Stepping Up initiatives was a key factor in my decision to come here. The fact that Douglas County has become one of the sites that the rest of the nation is looking at is a real honor to be a part of. The Innovator County designation is an example of that, and a real feather in our cap. And I know that the amazing part is, even though we've had that designation, what I see with the team is that they're digging in even more, and what more can they do to continue to drive down those numbers and to help the people that we're here to serve day in and day out. They take that data seriously, and they use it to inform them in their practices and their policies and the interventions that we put into place. So really very happy to be a part of that. As I said, I'm probably the least qualified, and those three ladies there provided a great example of why I'm the least qualified and all the information that they are able to provide. I'm really honored to be here and appreciate Robert and Mike asking me to do that, to be up here. You know, the reduction that we have seen in the jails of those with severe mental illness is impressive beyond compare, and it's been an honor. You know, here in Douglas County, we really do make a commitment to improving the lives of everybody that needs help. And it doesn't matter who you are, we really make that effort to do what's necessary to improve your lives and to get you into the least restrictive environment. And that is, again, what we continue to prove over and over again in our jails and in our behavioral health system, and the work that Bob is doing with all of us, and that the county and the city continue to support our efforts in those regards. Bottom line is, we are making a positive difference in the lives of individuals, especially those who need us the most. You know, at Burt Nash, we are proud to be part of that work that is happening day in and day out. And so I want to commend all of you for stepping up to make the lives of others, your fellow citizens, better every day. Thank you.
And we're almost done. All depends. Robert Benecki with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for Douglas County.
Oh, good afternoon. Boy, it sure doesn't sound very loud. Hopefully you guys are back in here. But hey, thank you, Sheriff McGovern. Thank you, our national guests and speakers. Thank you, community partners, for being here today. Thank you for citizens being here today. It's a nice turnout, and we're pretty happy with it. And it's a lot of hard work by a lot of good people, and that's what we're here talking about. But you know, there's just one person that I want to talk about who from the very beginning of this effort, you know, just knew what this was about. And this person is a friend of mine, a colleague. Where's Mike? Mike Brower. Mike. Thank you. Mike's very humble, and he didn't want to be at the podium today, but I want to take the opportunity. He's been a champion for this Stepping Up initiative all along. So, you know, as I wanted to say that as we've moved along, we have continued support of our Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, who has been brought together to study and take a look at trends and take a look at what's next and make recommendations to the appropriate, you know, parties to make decisions. And so that I want to make a note that our county commissioners, and I see Mike Gauntz here in the back. Thank you, Mike. But thank you for the work and listening to us and supporting our challenges as we move forward. So one thing we haven't said today is that as we've watched our mental health population go down, people in jail with mental illness, but we've over the 4 or 5 years we've watched the jail population go up, and so those are two different numbers there. But I would challenge, and I feel that we can continue to work for those alternatives to incarceration. We have done a tremendous job in our programs. Today we have 100, just over 100 out on pretrial release, close to 50 out on house arrest. Our behavioral health court initiated in 2017 in the 20s, and have served quite a few people over the last couple years. But those are the kind of programs that the leadership and the community and the county commission have put in place, and to be non-discriminatory, to be a way that people are not in jail because they can't afford to get out of jail. They're not in jail because their mental illness keeps them in jail. They're not in jail for any of those barriers that keep them there. So that tremendous effort in the last couple of years, and we continue to work towards those alternatives. And what would really be good is if we see the success with the mental illness. What if we saw success with the addicted population? What if we saw that? What if we really focused and saw that over the next couple of years? And there are things that have already started working down that path. I would continue to challenge the Stepping Up work group. Most of you are here in the room today to continue working towards this initiative, as well as each intercept and find ways to mitigate and find the lack in services and find ways to help the people in our community. We need to continue working on our failure to appear. I know Risa talked about the coming back in 6 months with the mental ill population, but that's an overall issue here in Douglas County. We need to continue to work towards ways to reduce that failure to appear rate. So maybe some of you know and some of you don't, but we started a program in December of last year that we have an auto calling system that calls defendants and reminds them of their court date. That's shown across the country to help with reducing the failure to appear rate. So that's just one thing. Before that, the sheriff had a human calling people for their first appearance, and so we've automated that and trying to improve that failure to appear rate. With that said, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. What we're going to do next is we're going to move into a panel discussion, and what we're going to talk about is some how we got to where we are with this success, and then some of the things that we might do to move forward. So I would ask you or encourage you to stay around for that. We'll take about a 10-minute break, and there's some refreshments back there. Help yourself, and then we'll come back in and reconvene for the panel. Thank you.